Hello everyone and welcome to my 2020 Halloween special. Yay! Last year we did my top 5 favorite horror games, so this year I want to do a list on the top 5 scariest games I've ever played. Now before we get into the list though, I feel like I need to clarify that fear is subjective. I know subjectivity is a part of every game opinion, but I feel like it needs to be emphasized even more with horror games, because as of where most other game opinions are mostly about how fun the games are, horror games are meant to invoke a reaction, that reaction being fear. But because we all have different brains, some people find certain things terrifying while others wouldn't even flinch. For example, clowns don't scare me, unless they are intentionally made to be scary, but spiders scare me so bad that I feel paranoid for the rest of the day every time I see one. I only wish I was joking. So please understand, this is my opinion, not yours. In other words, this is not meant to be considered the definitive scariest games ever made list. Oh, and by the way, my favorite horror games list from last year is outdated, so quick update on that. RE2 Remake took over Dark Deception as my second favorite, meaning Dark Deception is now in spot 5, which means Little Nightmares, Sister Location, and Bendy stayed in their original spots. Although Sister Location might not be safe for much longer. But anyways, without further ado, let's get started. Akamanto, at least I think I'm pronouncing that right, should not be as scary as it is. But dear God, this game is so scary. When I played this game for the first time and saw the enemy's face peer through the door, I jumped out of my chair so hard that my glasses ended up on the floor. And this is all because the enemy itself is one of the scariest character designs I've ever seen. Creepy doll and or puppet-like faces are one of my biggest fears, and this character design is not helping. The funny thing is, this game isn't even that special. It's very similar to games like Granny and Nun Massacre, where you search a house for tools to escape. Find keys and the occasional weird items that are all, of course, connected in some way, and give you a special item, and yeah, you have a typical escape room horror game. But like I said, this game's scariest factor is the enemy itself, especially because it sounds almost like a baby for a second, and then screams at you for seemingly no reason while chasing you.
Hey, I got a question for you. Can you crawl in vents?
Also, the game has spiders, which, like I said, is one of my worst fears, and because of that, this is the only game on this list that I did not record any of my own footage for. Sorry, but proper credit for the footage is in the description, so please don't sue me. The building you explore is dark, foreboding, and gritty feeling, which heightens your sense of paranoia and helplessness as you play more and more. Oh yeah, and screw the freaking centipede in the vent that made me scream like a girl in front of 7 people in a voice chat. Yeah, thanks a lot, devs. Oh, and in case you were wondering, no, this game is not made by Puppet Combo. While it does look and play very similar to a Puppet Combo games, its developer is actually Chilia's art? Chilia's? We're just gonna say Chilia's art, who have done a lot of their own other really cool retro-styled horror games on Steam, so go check them out. If you haven't played this game, I highly recommend it to anyone who likes a good horror game. Overall, Akamanto is super scary, though it has no business being so. Next!
2 weeks ago, a young woman was found wandering, barefoot, pregnant, and alone on a barren stretch of highway 100 miles from the nearest...
Oh! We lost the engine! Fuck! Fuck! Oh, shit! I feel the tornado going down! Mayday! Now the feet! 800! 500! 300! 100!
Outlast 2 is way scarier than the first game. Yeah, I said it. And not only is it scarier because it does tension much better, it has way less just cheap jump scares. My favorite sections of the first game was the stealth and mob chase sections, where the scare factor didn't come from loud sudden noises and people screaming in your face, but rather your own anxiety. Outlast 2 takes those two types of sections from the original and expands on it immensely, which was a welcome change of pace. For one, the chases feel way faster now. I feel like something a lot of horror games don't get is that the faster you and both the enemy are, the scarier the chase usually is, and I really wish more horror games would capitalize on that. And this game freaking nails that feeling of anxiety-inducing chases. You'll notice earlier I said mob chase sections, and what I meant by that is the amount of enemies that are chasing you at once. Having tons of people chasing you all at once trying to cut you off from other directions is extremely scary. Imagine Resident Evil 4, but way darker, and you have no self-defense options. That is Outlast 2 in a nutshell. Well, for the chase sections anyways. The stealth. Oh god, the stealth. Remember the amount of lockers and beds you had to use to hide before? Well, this game says screw that and uses way more environmental stealth, like waist-high grass and rivers to duck into, which if you ask my opinion, is way scarier, but also more free-feeling since you now have many more areas to hide in. Some of the areas you visit have some of the most memorable, scary moments in video game history. Oh, and also Resident Evil 8 kind of looks like this game, but with guns, which, like, yes, please, let me have some self-defense this time. If you want to know my opinion on the school segments, they're alright, just not really my favorite parts. There are other games that do the whole school setting a lot better, and while some people praise the school segments for being more psychological horror, come on, the word Outlast is the literal name of the game, not Insanity or something. Although I could see these segments being fleshed out into a full game someday. Red Barrels, get on it. Right after you finish the Outlast multiplayer game anyways. I'm just rambling now. Outlast 2 is scary because it does exactly what the game title implies it will do. Throw you in a scary village with insane people that you have to run and hide from. And also the dark atmosphere and music is pretty cool too, I guess. Moving on to number 3, we have Alien Isolation, in my mind, is without a doubt one of the most tense and anxiety-full games I have ever played in my life. Literally everything about this game is perfectly crafted to create hair-raising and alarming moments. From the music to the setting to the enemies themselves, this game is a horror game through and through. Firstly, the music is absolutely fantastic and nails the violin type music. A lot of horror media uses music that sounds like this. As of where Alien Isolation sounds like this. It's done very well, and every time I hear it, my shoulders get tense, even just remembering the enemy creeping around looking for me at every turn. I would remember walking down a corridor with my blood pressure through the roof and my mind racing, only to be met with... yeah, that. I'm gonna give credit where credit is due here and say while the alien is definitely the scariest enemy in the game in terms of how smart it is, the scariest enemy, if you ask my opinion, is the facehuggers. these things can die in a fire. Like no, they actually can. Fun fact, that clip you just saw was legit my first reaction to seeing a face hugger. Yeah, I didn't like it, to say the least. When they kill you, it's legit a jump scare, and it's clever because it has a good reason to be a jump scare. They literally grab onto your face to kill you. But to be fair, the androids are pretty scary too, and while they didn't personally scare me that much if you have a fear of mannequins, however, these things will probably give you nightmares for quite some time. While we're still on the subject of the enemies, their AI is surprisingly good. If you're wondering why their AI being so good is surprising, it's because the Alien game released before this one was Aliens versus however the freak you pronounce that word, Marines, which was infamously known for having terrible AI. Guess they learned from their mistakes. But do you want to know what my favorite part of this game is? This.
Axel, behind you.
Fuck you! Get here now! I've got the thieving son of a bitch!
Okay, but as hard as that scene made me laugh, Axel is legit one of my favorite characters in the game, and I really wish he didn't die so early on. Why do horror games always do that, by the way? Give you a companion you love, and then kill them off within 30 minutes. Like, at least give it a couple hours. Guys, I think I know who the imposter is. Also, I think it's quite impressive that as someone who isn't too scared of things in a sci-fi type setting, this game still managed to make me feel terror like I hadn't felt in a long time. I wouldn't say play this if you're not familiar with horror games that require resource management, since this game is quite hard, but if you've played your fair share of those types of games before, then please do yourself a favor and play this game. Yeah, FNAF somehow always manages to get onto these analysis/list videos, doesn't it? But what can I say? They're well-made games, much more than I think people give it credit for, but moving on, that's a topic for another day. Five Nights at Freddy's 4 is one of the few games that no matter how many times I play it, it still manages to scare me every freaking time. This game uses a little thing I like to call loud as heck jump scares. Okay, that and the LVAs. The LVA is a term I came up with myself, which stands for a locked view angle. Think of the fixed cameras in Resident Evil, but in first person. When you are looking at the bed, the closet, or down one of the two corridors on the left and right hand sides of the room, you are in an LVA. You can't look left or right, up or down, none of that. Just straight into the pitch black void. Until you turn your flashlight on. Uh-oh. Every time you are in an LVA, or a transition walking away from the LVA, is an opportunity for you to get jump scared. Whether it's because you flashed your light when an animatronic was right there, or because you didn't pay attention to one of the 4 animatronics for too long, this game requires that you are proactive in checking everything, especially in the later nights. Even though you being proactive pretty much ensures you won't get jump scared during a transition, it still can make you pretty tense, especially when you start to wonder if you spent a little too much time with that one animatronic, or if you misclick on the wrong door. That's always fun. The only part of this game that isn't in an LVA is when you're just looking at the bedroom, where you can click on one of the doors to run to them, or flick the mouse downward to look behind you. Even the Plus Trap minigame is an LVA, which is a bit unsettling, to say the least. By the way, this game has a gritty atmosphere, and is probably the most dark game in the series as far as overall tone goes. The ambience in the background, the animatronic designs, and the downright disturbing minigame scenery, everything feels gritty and dark as all hell. That sounded really stupid. I'll keep it in anyways. By the way, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but the ambience that plays in the background of every night kind of sounds like the animatronic breathing at some points, which actually screwed me over quite a few times. This game is very clever in how it sets you up to get jump scared. Sound in this game is key, which unfortunately means I did have to play it with my sound up to record the footage. My ears are probably going to be damaged from how freaking loud the jump scares are compared to everything else in the game. In fact, I think they're ringing right now. Also, this game has a Halloween edition that comes with it for free, so if it's still October when you're watching this, you should go check it out. But whatever you do, don't let Mangle get in.
Barf, 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 I'm a doggy, barf, 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 look at me, I'm Mangle, barf, 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 barf. Uh-oh. Oh, God, he did not like that. He didn't like that at all.
And finally, at the #1 spot is... SCP Containment Breach. This game, similarly to Akamanto, is kinda hard to tell you why it's so scary. It just is. In SCP-CB, you wander a randomly generated map full of mostly aggressive SCPs, the most iconic three being 173, 096, and 106. 173 can only move when you aren't looking at him or if you blink. 096 is the opposite and can't be looked at, otherwise he will find you and kill you no matter what. 106, well... .049, while not as popular, is a plague doctor that turns people into zombies after killing them. There's many other SCPs as well, but I won't go into them here, so if you want to read up on some more SCPs, go check out the SCP Wiki, which I will link in the description. And just as a side note, that site is what this game is based off of, so you can find all the known info for the SCPs in this game on there. There's also the Nine-Tailed Fox, who are also enemies, as their orders are to exterminate all D-class subjects. And guess who you play as? All of these enemies in one giant randomly generated map with a dark and existential atmosphere. If you play this game, not only are you going to get scared, but you are going to die. A lot. Yeah, not only is this game scary, it's infuriating. In fact, because the enemies freely roam the map, it's possible to run into 3 or more of the SCPs at once, which has happened to me multiple times, by the way. Best way to describe this game is the largest escape room you'll ever experience. While I personally prefer horror games with a more campaign aspect to them, this game I'm perfectly okay with doing the approach it goes for, as it just wouldn't be nearly as memorable or scary if it was split up into sections like a lot of horror games do. It's probably one of the most open-ended horror games out there, which makes it all the scarier knowing anything can happen at any time. It is extremely hard to explain any further as to why this game is as scary as it is, so do yourself a solid and play it yourself, because guess what? The game is free. Yeah, free. I'll link the game download in the description, so please, please, please go check it out if you're a horror fan. Oh, and also as a plus, the game only has like 2 scripted jump scares in the entire thing, so if scripted jump scares annoy you, then this is also a great game to play. And with all that being said about this game, I'll go ahead and just end it off on this clip from the Gmod SCP map.
Get out of here. I'm too young to die. Get through the door. Which door? Go right. It's open. There's a horse behind you. No. It's a dead end.
This is fucking ridiculous.
Die. No.
Thank you all so much for watching this year's Halloween special. I spent a ton of time making it, and it's probably the biggest video I've worked on so far. So I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know if you guys want to see some more commentary style videos like this, as I really do enjoy working on them. It's just hard to find time to do them, otherwise I would totally do them all the time. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all guys next time.